everyone. Hey, congratulations for your film. There.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gig.
Hey, not a problem, not a problem. I'll start with you, Andrew. Where the original idea came from, the concept for there.
Yeah, when the lockdowns hit a couple of years ago, there was a few months where nobody could do anything filmmaking wise, and then everything started to come back, and people started to build their bubbles. But I was just thinking about that moment and about bubbles and about working in isolation. And I was realizing, to me, there was kind of an interesting cinema experiment to be done. Every time you cut in a movie from one actor to another, there's a bit of a trick to that. There's a bit of a hopefully maybe a lie that tells the truth. So I just got really interested in, you're always building something out of fractured time and space anyway. I thought, what if we push this to an extreme? What if we shoot every actor in isolation? That would be such a crazy trust exercise. And thinking about working that way, I started to think about a story about trust exercises, about faith, about people who are, might be having a very intimate experience in a room together, but don't really know if they're in the same space or not. So just started to hear these characters and these interlocking stories between them.
Wow. Well, let's ask your actors on what initially attracted to this project. Annie, what initially attracted to this project first?
Well, I'm a friend of Andrew's. I've been a friend and a big fan of his for years and years and years. So my attraction was just that I was invited to be a part of it by Andrew, and it's a fascinating, amazing script. I was delighted to do it, for sure.
Wow, that is great. What about for you, Avi?
I didn't even have the pleasure of meeting Andrew until recently. So I got an email from across the internet from this guy named Andrew who was like, I have seen you and stuff. And I went, are you sure you're talking about me? And he said, yeah. And I would love for you to read this script. And so he sent me a script, which was a different movie. And then we're still sort of working on that. And then in the pandemic, Andrew wrote there. And said, by the way, I have this other crazy idea, but we're going to make it and you're never going to, meet anyone. You're just going to do it in isolation. I was like, I will do anything that you write because I think he's an incredible writer. So that's how I found out about it. And then that's how I did it.
Andrew, tell us about the camera setup on how you wanted everyone to position, the cinematography or camera or I'm not even sure. Was this all self-directing by the actors?
We kind of had micro crews in the room with them. So there was really just one person who was essentially the camera operator and kind of the one-man crew. There would often be another actor in the room just reading the lines with them. So we called them the Phantom Cast, who were incredibly valuable. But essentially, between two in a lot of cases to a maximum of 4 people in the room with the actors, and then the rest of us on Zoom. Myself, the cinematographer, producers, production designer, sound supervisor. I would be sitting right where I'm sitting right now, and whether the camera was in Bologna or in wherever in the world. It's an exceedingly strange way of working, but we made something out of it. I think as far as the camera you mentioned, I wanted it to feel like, I didn't want you to feel any crew in the room. So we wanted to feel that isolation. So the camera never moves. Everything was minimal setup as it had to be. So you get a unique, strange, at times very surreal look from it, and certainly a lot of surreal edits out of building a movie this way. But that was, I'm a movie nerd. Like things, I get excited when things look weird. So we had a lot of weird to work with here.
Well, I'm going to start with Avi and then go to Annie on this next one. Is how was that experience of acting with, I want to say yourself, basically?
Yeah, well, kind of myself. So, the Phantom Cast that Andrew mentioned, they're real people. So I had my good buddy Max Samuels fly over from New York and learn an entire part and do the entire scene with me over 2 days. And so I sort of, it's like we kind of had 3 parts of this thing. I got to be working with a good friend and doing sort of great acting off of him and reacting and listening and sort of building a scene. I also had to trust immensely in Andrew, because I never saw what Jason was going to do. And in many cases, a lot of the scenes, the other part hadn't even been filmed yet. Or as, you know, Andrew said, you know, he didn't even have time to go through that edit. And so it was really just like, let's create sort of in space. And then the third part of it was, you know, kind of monologuing and sort of bringing different ideas on every take. And because the camera didn't move, it wasn't as though we just sort of shot parts of the scene. We kind of shot the whole scene every time, all day, over and over and over, from just these different angles. And so it was really like taking a fresh hammer to a old nail over and over and trying to beat something else out of it. So it was great. It's kind of what you sign up to do as an actor. You know, you like to sort of drain yourself and then go to bed at the end of it and feel like you made something.
What about for you, Annie? Because I understand this is your first feature film, and this is probably an interesting start for a career like this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think honestly, this was perfect for me. It wasn't scary. There weren't a bunch of super hip people standing around scowling, waiting for me to fuck up. You know, I mean, it was not, which is how I imagine a film set to be. And I was there with, like Avi mentioned, the Phantom cast, my best friend, Rebecca Beagle, who's just, you know, a brilliant genius and actor. And she was there. I was acting with her. And also I had, I don't know, that thing of, I don't know if you did it in junior high, and it kind of what we're all doing now when we communicate like this, where I would go in the bathroom and sit on the counter and like do my own private Annie show, like just in the mirror. And so it was, I was doing the Annie show, you know, I mean, but I still felt very held. Andrew, Matthias, you know, they were there even though they weren't, I guess. So it was great.
They were there.
It was challenging.
There.
Exactly.
And Andrew, on the set locations, did everyone chose their own locations to film themselves, or you actually had picked out set locations?
We had to figure it out place by place. You know, this was an odd, in so many ways, a strange way to make a movie. It wasn't like a conventional movie shoot where you get everybody together and it feels like summer camp and you bang it out. This was like, you know, with 8 performers, it was like 8 mini shoots, or really even kind of 16 mini shoots, because usually we'd have the different people in 2 different locations. So it was kind of catch as catch can. You know, it was a very, very scrappy indie production. It was like, okay, we need, you know, Avi's in the bar, so we got to find his bar, and Molly's in a bar, so we got to find her bar, and Lenny's in a bar, so we got to find his bar. They're not going to be the same bar, and they shouldn't be the same bar. We want to embrace that, and yet they've got to be similar enough that we can figure out how they fit together. So there was a lot of math involved in that, and extraordinary credit is due to my cinematographer, who they mentioned, Matthias Grinsky, who is you know, had to take on a lot here and had to hold a lot in his head. And every time we shot a camera angle, you know, he'd have to remember 3 months later what that was and how far away the actor was to get to match with the other side we were shooting. So you know, it was an adventure, not to be repeated, I think, but so glad we got away with it.
And Avi, Annie, in the end, did you meet your counterparts? You know, Lily, Jason, and Molly.
I haven't met Jason yet. You know, I try to Zoom him every day. You know, just like he hasn't picked up yet.
That was the weirdest thing. We premiered at Tribeca, and you know, I was able to get exactly half of the cast there, and it didn't even occur to me until we were all standing there together. I was like, wow, you guys are still separated. I still have no 2 people who share a scene together. I managed to get exactly this half of the cast and you know, exactly not the other half of the cast. So a lot of people still haven't met. It's weird. Maybe we're doomed to never meet, but I'm glad I finally got to meet Avi. I'd been working with him for a couple of years. I finally got to shake his hand.
That is terrific. Well, let me part with one specific question for Avi. What was it like hanging upside down?
Like, it was fine the first time. It wasn't fine, you know, the 98th time on the day. You know, maybe I'm not cut out to be a movie star. You know, I've never had the camera on me the whole day for a shoot, and you know, you start to think about the choices you make in life, like hanging on some rings upside down. There's a lot of Andrew made me do a lot of pull-ups that day that we never got to see. You know.
Yeah, we cut them from the movie, but Avi had to do, you know, 1,000 pull-ups, and he should thank me.
Never again.
Now he's jacked.
Never again. I still can't raise my hands above my table.
That is terrific. Well, hey, congratulations everyone for there, and hopefully all you guys have like one big party and meet each other.
I would love to do it. I would love to make a movie with these 8 people locked in a room together someday. We'll do that next.
That would be here.
You're here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.